WBD urges shareholders to reject Paramount's hostile takeover bid. Despite the amount. Well. Warner Brothers Discovery has formally urged shareholders to reject Paramount's hostile $108 billion takeover proposal. Yeah, just give up that $108 billion. Yeah. Arguing the bid carries major financial risks and lacks deal certainty compared to its accepted merger agreement with Netflix. Ta-dum. In a 3-page letter, only 3, sent to investors, WBD said Paramount's offer fails to qualify as a superior proposal and should be rejected in favor of Netflix's deal. A central concern raised by WBD is Paramount's claim that its bid is effectively backstopped by the Ellison family. While Larry Ellison is one of the world's wealthiest individuals and the financial backer of Paramount's CEO, David Ellison, WBD says there is no binding Ellison family commitment supporting the transaction. So what, they agree to the deal and then they go, psych, we don't really have the money. I guess. Anyway, according to the letter, Paramount's proposal relies on a revocable trust that WBD describes as opaque and filled with gaps, loopholes, and limitations. The board warned that this structure exposes shareholders to unnecessary risk and provides no firm assurance that funding would be available if financing were to fall apart. WBD also criticized the structure of Paramount's bid, noting that it allows Paramount to amend or terminate the offer, including changes to the price. With global regulatory approvals expected to take 12 to 18 months, the board said the proposal offers little deal certainty. Well, yeah, but the Netflix deal is going to take 12 to 18 months. Anyway, the offer's value is inadequate, with significant risks and costs imposed on our shareholders, said WBD Board Chair Samuel A. D. Piazza Jr., adding that the proposal once again failed to address concerns previously raised during multiple rounds of talks. Alongside rejecting Paramount's bid, WBD reiterated its support for its merger agreement with Netflix, which the board described as offering more certain value, stronger financing, and a clearer regulatory path. But it'll take 12 to 18 months. How clear is it? Well, anyway, Netflix co-CEOs Ted Sarandos and Greg Peters also sent a letter to WBD shareholders reaffirming confidence in their $82.7 billion offer. Sarandos said Netflix plans to preserve Warner Brothers' theatrical releases and maintain HBO's focus on prestige television until they don't. Yeah, none of these promises mean anything. But look, if there's holes in the Paramount financing, well then, yeah, that is a concern. So they're, concerned. But wait, Netflix has an answer too. Yes, Netflix rolls out fan bait PR campaign to sell Warner Brothers Discovery takeover. See, Superman's going to have to wear this symbol now. So long to the S. Anyway, Netflix has launched a full-scale public relations campaign aimed directly at Warner Brothers Discovery stockholders, pushing them to approve its proposed $82.7 billion acquisition of WBD while painting the deal as a win for fans, creators, and Hollywood. The campaign follows WBD's board formally urging shareholders to reject Paramount Skydance's hostile bid and back Netflix instead. Netflix executives Ted Sarandos and Greg Peters are now flooding investors with promises that everything fans care about, theatrical releases, legacy franchises, and creative teams will remain untouched. The legacy franchise will not remain untouched, but they will remain in some form or fashion. How bad will they ruin them? I don't know. Maybe they'll get it right. But the creative teams, that remains to be seen. Theatrical releases, extremely doomed. For a while. For a while. There better be a boom in theatrical releases. But even, I just see no evidence that Netflix is interested in that model. Yeah. So just like me, the critics aren't buying it. In its messaging and on the newly launched NetflixWBTogether.com, Netflix claims Warner Brothers will continue operating independently, with executive teams kept in place and theatrical releases preserved with industry-standard windows. The PR site prominently features imagery from major fan favorite properties, including Harry Potter, DC franchises spanning the Snyderverse to James Gunn's Superman, classic Warner Brothers films, and HBO prestige series. The message is clear. Nothing changes, except Netflix owns everything. That's it. That's it. Well, they're going to change something, because otherwise Warner Brothers wouldn't have needed to find someone to buy it if it was such a successful company on its own. This is the third sale. The third sale in just a few number of years. Yeah. Anyway, it's also worth noting that claims about keeping executive teams intact are standard merger rhetoric. Yeah, and it never holds up. Some people will stay here and there. Yeah. But yeah, it will not stay in place. I mean, a year or two after the sale's complete at best, See, promise kept. In practice, major mergers always lead to leadership shakeups, restructuring, and power consolidation once the deal closes. To keep it all separate, it's just going to be cheaper to merge it all in. I mean, HBO's just, at best, will be a tab on Netflix. That's it. Yeah? If that. The rest, it'll just be, an HBO production, whatever, at the opening of a film or TV show. That's it. Even when executives are initially retained to project stability, overlapping roles, cost-cutting, and strategic realignment almost inevitably result in departures, especially in a deal of this size and scope. This is simply evident by the fact that James Gunn and Peter Safran ran to Bloomberg to save their jobs after Netflix won the bid. The biggest omission from Netflix's glossy campaign is the reality of regulatory scrutiny. Netflix admits the merger could take 12 to 18 months to close, requiring approval from U.S. and international regulators, including the DOJ and EU competition authorities. Given Netflix's dominant global streaming position, the deal is expected to face serious antitrust resistance. Hollywood insiders have already begun framing the merger as a potential monopoly play that would concentrate too much power over content distribution and pricing in one company's hands. So yeah, it's Avatar. It looks different behind the scenes, Anyway, despite Netflix's claims that the deal is pro-creator, the entertainment industry remains deeply skeptical. Netflix has long been criticized for undermining theatrical releases. Yep. Limiting back-end participation for creators, sure, replacing traditional profit participation with flat buyouts. Major filmmakers have spoken out against Netflix's model in recent years. James Cameron is among the most recent high-profile voices, warning that streaming-first economics devalue theatrical filmmaking and long-term creative sustainability. For many in Hollywood, Netflix owning Warner Brothers only accelerates trends they already see as damaging. Yeah, Hollywood's been beaten all over the place by Hollywood. You made a lot of mistakes. This is why you're in this position where the vultures can swoop in. Dummy. Anyway, now, while Netflix positions itself as a steward of Warner Brothers' legacy, the campaign is aimed less at creators or audiences and more at swaying WBD shareholders with fan-bait imagery and reassuring language. The pitch promises stability, growth, and respect for theatrical cinema, all areas where Netflix's past behavior has fueled distrust. Whether regulators, creators, or fans accept Netflix's vision remains an open question. But the aggressive PR rollout signals one thing clearly. Netflix knows this merger will be a fight. Yeah, plus they got to convince them that the $82 billion, or is it 87? Yeah, $82.7 billion. Is better than the $108 billion that Paramount's offering. And they got to make the case that, yeah, they're lying. Their finances aren't all that. And don't worry, we're going to steer the regulatory battle. You know. So if they can make a strong case that, oh, yeah, this Paramount financing is shaky, well, then they've beaten off Paramount. But then the regulatory business they got to deal with could all go south. And then what do? Warner Brothers is right back to, okay, anybody else? Yeah, everything must go. Yeah. So we'll see. I thought it's bad all over. It's a terrible statement on Warner Brothers overall. I mean, really, I say this will be the third sale. I mean, the Discovery thing was just so Zaslav could come in, polish things up, and sell it again. The AT&T sale that happened was, Warner Brothers just ran itself in the ground, despite the fact that it's the one studio that actually accidentally stumbled into hits in recent times, but it really squandered opportunity after opportunity also, and spent a lot of money chasing after things. And that's always the case. It's always a gamble. That's true. But oof. So anyway, this is where they are, but ultimately between the two, Paramount, at least that's coming out of a traditional studio, now run by tech moguls, of course, so kind of the same situation, but nevertheless, still more maintaining a studio system within Paramount. So the chances of the attempt, of course, they announced an ambitious thing for 30 movies a year, out of Paramount. So they seem more aggressive on the theatrical model than Netflix is. So on that point, that scores favorably on their side, should they somehow manage to snatch this away. But if there are legitimate holes in their financing, then, that's probably it would derail it. But then again, Netflix can still lose because they're number one in streaming. And now they're going to take number 3 and get it even bigger. So, they're going to, well, yeah, but YouTube. I don't think that's a strong argument. Anyway, there we go. The WBD war continues. Wait a minute. What's this? Warner Brothers Discovery says unknown American media company offered a takeover bid, I guess. Whoa. Who could that have been? Well, it's interesting, but is it effective to overall? I don't know. But let's say here, Warner Brothers Discovery on Wednesday disclosed a 4th bidder submitted an offer for the company, adding to bids from Netflix, Paramount, and Comcast, though little is known about the unnamed firm. Well, here's the key facts. Warner Brothers Discovery, in a Securities and Exchange Commission filing, said it received offers for all or some of its business from Netflix and Paramount, as well as a Company A and a Company C, which Warner Brothers Discovery labeled as an American media company. Company A offered to buy just Warner Brothers Discovery's film and streaming assets, matching a bid reportedly made by Comcast, which was not named in the filing. So I guess that was Comcast. That's Company A. Anyway, unlike the 3 other offers, Company C bid for Warner Brothers Discovery's global networks business, including CNN, TNT, and TBS, among others, in addition to 20% of its film and streaming assets. Just 20% of that? I mean, the IP is kind of the bigger thing out of all, you know? But I guess the only one that's certain of them, not, you know. Okay. Anyway, Warner Brothers Discovery said it determined a proposal from Company C was not actionable and opted to move forward with preliminary offers from Netflix, Paramount, and Company A, which has to be Comcast, in late November. So there you go. Who else could have bid for Warner Brothers Discovery? Warner Brothers Discovery CEO David Zaslav told executives in October that Amazon and Apple had expressed interest in acquiring the company, Bloomberg reported, citing two people familiar with the discussions, though neither firm would match the American media company label. It's not immediately clear what other companies would have submitted offers for Warner Brothers Discovery, though other firms submitted bids for Paramount last year before an $8 billion acquisition by Skydance. Apollo Global Management and Sony offered roughly $26 billion in a joint acquisition bid. Allen Media Group, which owns the Weather Channel, made a $30 billion bid for Paramount, with plans to sell the company's film studio, real estate, and intellectual property while holding its streaming and TV businesses. Warner Brothers Discovery announced a deal earlier this month with Netflix for the streaming platform to acquire the company, blah, 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 blah. And they're going to dump the legacy crap. Paramount submitted a hostile takeover. Yeah. And they're going to go with Netflix. So Zaslav says, yeah, let's go Netflix. So anyway, there you go. Company C is either Amazon, perhaps, or Apple. Now, but they only wanted 20% of the IP, and they actually did want some of the cable channels. That's kind of interesting, because I would have thought most people didn't want it. Paramount's offering to buy the whole shebang, you know, Netflix, and we're going to just dump that. And of course, it does appear like, and I mean, it makes sense. Zaslav already announced they're splitting the company in two next year, no matter what happens. But of course, if Paramount wanted to buy all of it, well, okay, then keep it together. It's your deal. But for Netflix's purposes, it's more favorable for that to be true. And as it's going, it looks like it will be. So then Netflix, you know, it's some of the saying there was shenanigans and whatnot. It kind of looks like it, doesn't it? You know, that is ends up being more favorable for Netflix overall, from the get-go. But whatever, we'll see. So anyway, yes, there were more offers than what was initially public. So makes sense, but it doesn't really matter which one now, because they're not in the game anymore.